sound. Welcome to the official podcast of Solarflight Productions and SolarFlightPro.com. I'm your host, Garrett Ray, and today we're doing something completely different from our normal show. Every Tuesday we do our normal show, and that covers movie news and reviews with me and three of my other cohorts. But this is the first in our series of Wild Lines, where we sit down with the best of the best from different corners of the entertainment industry and talk about their journey, their inspirations, and their newest projects. It is my pleasure to introduce our first Wild Lines guest. He's a senior in high school who has already begun to travel the world making his particular brand of films that mix some incredibly cinematic shots with documentary-style storytelling. Phoenix Phillips. Phoenix, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, we go pretty far back.
Yeah.
We first met, I was friends with your sister back in 8th grade, and I remember meeting you, and you had I'm trying to think of the right word, but you were very sure of yourself. And I think that was like 8-9 years ago now.
Yeah.
But you've always carried yourself a lot differently than some of the other kids your age. And so I've always been impressed with kind of just how you handled yourself. You were very comfortable with us, even though we were older than you were.
Yeah.
I say were. I'm still older than you are.
Yeah. Nothing changed.
But you're definitely leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of other kids your age. I say kids, but I'm not that much older than you. So I'm very excited to have you here. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff that you've been doing that I'm excited to talk about. But before we get to your current projects, I want to start off with asking you, when did you first get the urge or the idea to start filming things? Like, where does your journey start?
Yeah. It all started actually with me and you both know Randy Bell, who teaches the audio video program at Belton High School. So it really all started with that. I remember they actually have I think it's a fair where they take all the electives and take some of the students and the teachers and sit them down in the gym, and they basically try and sell you why you should take their elective. And I kind of fell victim to that. I've never been like one to go straight for a sales pitch, but they were showing me some of the stuff they did and the stuff they were creating. And at the time, my parents owned a CrossFit gym. They still do. And I just got around to picking up my mom's PowerShot camera and actually started with photos, which is ironic because I hate photography now. And I just would slowly take shots, and they were semi-clear, and I thought I was all that. And, I would slowly get some compliments, or they post them on their Instagram or, Facebook or whatever. And I think that small satisfaction of showing somebody, something that you did, a work, and then getting that kind of immediate gratification that follows it. I think that's more what led me in there. So I started the filming with, I started filming with really crappy cameras within the audio video department. And at first I actually really didn't like filming that much. But I think a lot of that was we were following training videos, mostly how to edit, not so much how to film. And I still think even I like to edit way more now, but I think back then I really didn't like to edit, and I really like to film. And most of that class was learning, how to edit and how to multicam stuff. And I look back at that now, and that was really necessary for a lot of the stuff I do now. But at the time, we were editing footage that was given to us, through these training videos. And it really was just very monotonous. You came down, you watched a video, you followed at your own pace. And even when I didn't like it, I was still always 5 lessons in front of everybody else. I just felt like, oh, well, this is my classwork. I got to do it. And but once I realized that I could film the stuff I wanted to and make those projects my own, then that's when I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can make something that I enjoy and shape it and mold it and make it my own thing, and then, show it to people. So I think when I realized that I could do that, that's when everything kind of clicked for me, and that passion for filming and just creating content really started. Yeah.
And I took the class back before Randy actually took over when I was a freshman in high school, and I took it under Mark Fitzwater. And And I was the same way. We had our assignments and everything, but I had Fitzwater's class first thing in the mornings, and then my bus would get there, and I'd have 30 minutes before school, and all my friends were hanging out, in the cafeteria or wherever, and I went straight to that class and pulled up, Video Copilot or whatever I could get my hands on and worked on stuff, and I made as many extra projects as I could, and that was that was where I spent my time. And so that's I was kind of in that same boat. I was like, I just want to learn it so that I can know it and then do my own thing. So I think that's the mark of someone who really can excel, is someone who will sit there and do the work even when it's boring, and work to get ahead of everyone else because they see the potential in it and have that work ethic. So awesome. So how is your education at Belton High School played into learning your craft? You get to work at your own pace a lot in Randy's class. So do you think that's benefited you more, or do you think that's...
I think it's definitely... I actually wrote something. Miss Necessary asked me, she runs the CTE program. She asked me to write something about kind of how CTE has kind of affected, I guess kind of where I'm at now. And I think... And I always say that, like I said, being able to do projects at your own pace is a blessing and a curse. Because if you have an idea and you're rolling with it and, you're really on fire to try and get it done, it's going to get done and, everything's going to kind of click. But if you're in a place where you don't have anything to film or you can't think of anything to film, or you don't have any projects that you're currently working on, then it's kind of like, what do I do? So I'm not going to lie, there's been a lot of, class periods where I've wasted time and just watched YouTube videos, and some of them were productive and others weren't, just that vortex that you can get stuck in at YouTube with just stupid videos. So, but definitely I think the biggest thing, and Belle will be a testament to this, is I think I've filmed 2 football games. And for the program, a lot of it is centered around making videos, especially for football, but for sports. I think I made 1 video for powerlifting, and that was it. Like, I, from day one, have never wanted to, I don't know, I've never been a very big on shooting stuff live, or, I guess I knew what I wanted to do, and when, it's kind of selfish, but when it didn't fall within, those domains that I kind of set, then, I really didn't want to do it. All the time they had, people load up the bus and they travel with the team, or whether it's a home game, to go film the game live. And I think the 2 times I did, I had my own camera. I was on the sideline, and my kind of, my, I don't know, not my goal, but my job was to film B-roll. And so it was just, I don't know, I never really enjoyed doing that. I knew what I liked to do. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm not a big fan of, filming football. And so I was like, I just want to create the projects I want to. And so the CTE program, they have a ton of great equipment. And I can easily say now that I have not taken full advantage of all the equipment we have, but I try and take, advantage of the equipment we do have. And I have done some of that, but I guess not to the fullest that I could have. So, I love the program simply because you can work at your own pace, but because you can't really cap out, you can't like say, oh, I've learned everything there is to know. There's always something to learn, or to continue learning. And so I think that's been a huge part of kind of making my craft now is, I can always bump up and get a better camera, and learn how to edit on a different software if I wanted to. So, there's just those options there that even if I haven't used them yet, they're still there, and they kind of keep you pushing towards, making a better product.
Right. And that's something that's definitely true, not only in the CTE program, but just in filmmaking and in life. There's always something else to learn. And that's one of those things that I always say to people who have asked me, what's the biggest secret to making films? And my answer is just keep learning. If you think there's nothing else you need to learn, you need to quit, because you're going to be useless. And that sounds harsh, but that's just the truth of the matter, is that there's always something else that you can learn, that you can get better at. And I do really appreciate that Belton High has this program that allows kids to go and have a bunch of equipment. I mean, crazy amounts of equipment at their fingertips that they can go and create stuff with. And we've seen people doing vlogs. We've seen people doing, last year you guys did a short film called Toll Road that was for the Belton Police Department. If I remember correctly, and so it talks about the dangers of texting and driving, and you told a story through that, and it came out great, and it was all students who did it, and that was I had the privilege to help kind of with the story on that, and then our good friends over at Flying T Entertainment helped with the filming of it, and so you guys are getting hands-on experience, and some of the best shots that we got for Final Moments, which is by far our most popular short film on YouTube, were stuff that you shot, and I know looking back on that, there was a lot of opportunity for not only you guys to learn when we've been able to collaborate, but for me as well to kind of see how you approach setting up your shots, and how Noah Varvel approaches setting up his shots, and you guys all have your own strengths, and I do really love that our school has that program for you guys to learn from. That's something that's really neat. But enough about whatever that was that I talked about. What type of filmmaking are you most interested in making?
My specialty, and I think this will be now and forever, is run and gun filming. So for people that don't know what that is, it's basically you have an event or you have a subject or whatever it is. There is no script. There is no planning. They do whatever they're meant there to do, whether it be something athletic or dancing or whatever, and you're there and you shoot it. And I think that's more my strength. I'm a very visual person and very visual learner. So with most of my videos, they're normally always planned out in my head before I touch a computer or upload any footage. And I've been a huge, I love music. I love just making montages. I would say that's more of my strength. And so definitely that type of filmmaking, I think, fits me and fits my personality a lot more. Just very random, very, I guess, exciting, very just on the go. No planning, just, hey, these are your tools, this is your environment, go. And I think that's more my wheelhouse.
Yeah. And that's definitely something because I've seen some of your stuff, and you get shots in situations where I would have missed it by a mile, and I've always been impressed with that, because you can just go out and be there and catch these moments that I almost say catch these moments. You can catch these moments that are just so much fun to look at, and are dynamic and have depth to them. And I mean, you've managed to make environments that are just like 4 flat walls and some weightlifting equipment look like somewhere I want to go check out, and anyone who's seen me in person knows I would never go to a gym. So it's definitely, you've got this eye in these situations that I think is absolutely incredible. Where did your first paid job come into play? I know your first kind of paid job didn't actually pay anything, but how did that, how did you get to that point? Because a lot of people think that, if you're a filmmaker, you know all these other filmmakers, but that's not always how these things come about. So tell us a little bit more about how that happened.
My very first paid job was a wedding for one of the members at the gym who was getting married. And I remember it was, I think, a week and a half before the actual wedding. I had just gotten a camera for myself. It was a Canon Rebel T3i, and that was my very first camera. And I remember I got that as a present, for Christmas. I had been messing around. I had just gotten Final Cut. I was slowly making videos and just putting them out. The lady that was getting married saw one of my videos, seemed to like it, and was like, hey, I'm getting married in a week and a half. If you could film my wedding, that'd be great. By the way, my husband, or her fiance at the time, he doesn't speak English. But we're going to do this. And so I was like, and she was like, I'll pay you $200. I was like, heck yeah. I was fired up. I believe I was a freshman. I think I was a freshman in high school, possibly a sophomore. but that was my very first paid job, and that's actually still out on Vimeo. I put all my stuff on YouTube now, but I still have, actually one of my most popular videos is actually still on Vimeo, but that was my first paid project. If anybody's ever shot or photographed a wedding, it is a pain in the butt.
Yes,
it is
I've
scary.
done it. Oh my gosh.
It is you wouldn't think it's an adrenaline rush, but it's literally adrenaline rush from start to finish, because it's your job to capture the biggest day they've thought about, and for people in their life sometimes. So I use copyrighted music. I slapped it up on Vimeo. And that was my very first paid job. And that actually slowly rolled into some more weddings, but I actually refuse to do weddings now.
Yeah.
Because I've done, I guess, so many. I've only done about 4 or 5, but that was 4 or 5 too many. So.
Right. That was enough.
Yeah.
I shot a wedding last year, and I ran 3 cameras for video, and then 2 cameras doing photos each with a different lens on them. And I shot for 12 hours by myself. Oh. That was insane.
That was the thing, is I think I shot 3 by myself, and I shot 1 with somebody else. I think I only shot 1 with somebody else, and that helped tremendously. But I had like a 3 camera setup, trying to get as many angles, not miss any of the magical moments.
Right.
It is extremely stressful. And if I ever do a wedding in the future, it's probably because I'm really going to need money. But if I can avoid to do those at all costs, I will.
Yeah. First Baptist Church downtown Belton, they've got that upstairs balcony and the downstairs. In order to get as many angles as I could, I would go to one spot and take a bunch of pictures. And, I'm in full, nice wedding attire. And then I would sprint down the stairs, up around to the other side to get pictures from the other side. And it was insane.
Because you got to check cameras, make sure everything's recording, nothing is shut off.
I had to make it look like I had 4 people taking pictures instead of myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, insanity. People who do weddings and love that, I appreciate the heck out of them.
Oh, yeah,
because that is... you miss the moment.
There's no going back like, hey, can y'all kiss one more time and walk back down the aisle?
Right.
That you can't do that. So
I do know some photographers though. Those kind of sprinkler or the sparkler exits. They turn on the sprinklers and the bride walks out into the water. No, the sparkler exits. They will stage those a lot of the time. I've found out. I always wondered, how do you do that? And it's like, we fake it. Okay, that works. So I know you are incredibly fit, because I've got 6 inches on you, and you can beat the crap out of me. So I know you do a lot of CrossFit. You're still in school. This is your senior year, and somehow you have more of a social life than I do. How do you balance all of that with studying your craft and with producing content? How do you find the time to do all these things?
For the most part, kind of finding a balance is, I'm a big believer in just, setting your priorities. So for me, obviously, fitness, CrossFit, and weightlifting is something, I've had a passion for even before filmmaking, since I was in the 5th grade. And so it's something that slowly I started off sports, and as the years went on, slowly dropped them and did more CrossFit and did more weightlifting until my freshman year. Ironically, when I started filmmaking, I dropped all sports after freshman year and solely just CrossFitted and weightlifted. And so within balancing, for me, if I'm always a big believer in, if you truly enjoy something or if you want to do it, you're going to find time to do it.
You're weightlifting right now. It's incredible to watch. You're not even breathing hard.
No, but I don't know, whether it be, simple as watching TV or watching, YouTube or whatever. I think that's somebody everybody can relate with, because I think everybody at least has an hour a day where they just sit down and relax and watch something.
Yeah, there's a time for everything.
Exactly. And if you really want to do something, you're gonna make time for it. And so there's definitely, I don't even really consider it a sacrifice, because it's not like I had to spend time in the gym over something. I wanted to spend time in the gym, so I really don't see it as a sacrifice. But really, a basic schedule that I've had since freshman year is I wake up, I go to school, I go to the gym, and now it's a little bit less because right now I'm only weightlifting. But back when I was competing within CrossFit, I would go to the gym. I'd be at the gym from anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. I'd go home. I'd eat. I'd do my homework. I'd go to bed. And at one point, I think in my sophomore year, I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning to go train before school. That way I could then go to school and then train after school and then go home and do my homework and do all that. So, within balancing it, social life, I think that's something I've gotten a lot better at, especially the senior year, because school hasn't been that much as a big priority. And not to say that I'm not trying. I have straight A's. I haven't had straight A's since middle school. But I'm not taking any advanced classes, any homework or work I finish within school, so when it comes to, I have a lot more, I guess, free time outside of school now, but, I have, I would say a pretty small, circle of friends, and those are guys that, if you're my friend for a reason. I'm obviously, if you do CrossFit or weightlifting, we're going to have a connection, but I'm very much gravitated towards people that work hard. Yeah. Whatever that craft may be. I don't care, whether it be academics, tennis, golf, I don't care. I really respect people that work hard. So it's really easy if you put yourself in an environment where other people are working hard. It's really hard to not work hard. So, within, social stuff, luckily within the athletic world, I'm able to, travel a little bit, and, that there's a lot of social, parts when it comes to that, getting to travel around and meet a lot of new people. But when it really comes to home, luckily I'll sometimes go hang out with friends on the weekends, but when you're working out, 3 to 4 hours a day and you finally get home, the last thing you want to do is go back out of the house. Right. So I would say, yeah, definitely, I really probably didn't do a very good job at, going out and hanging out, as much as I probably would have liked to. But for me, it really didn't bother me because I really enjoyed, being at the gym and, bettering myself and bettering my craft within the athletic world, but then also, getting to see myself get better, lift heavier weights, complete Metcons faster and stuff like that. So, within two, I've never been like a party person or anything like that. Yeah. I don't smoke or drink or do anything like that. And if you want to do that, do it. That's your cup of tea. I'd advise you not to, but hey, everybody's their own person and everybody's got to learn their ways. But I think I was lucky to kind of grasp it on my mind at an early age that, I found positive things that I wanted to do and just kept doing more of those instead of trying to, I guess, doing a more negative route.
Right. So yeah, and that's one of the things that there's a whole lot of discussion about should we be legal, should we not be legal. And I think the biggest thing is just I don't know too many people who smoke a whole ton and just really get a lot done. So say what you will about that subject, but I think that's definitely one of those things. Is like if you focus on the positive things in life and what you can accomplish, what you can produce, I think that pushes you to do a lot more and you kind of become one of those people that other people look up to and admire. I know I definitely, I see all the stuff you get done. I'm like, man, I should really go work out just once this year, just so I can do it. Phoenix does it every day. But yeah, no. So you took a trip to New Zealand, and so I don't know what all you're allowed to share with all of this, but yeah, as much as you can you tell us about how that job came around, and then the trip itself, just kind of what you had to do while you were out there.
Yeah. So the New Zealand trip, I think that was actually what really took off kind of my quote unquote film career, I guess, as it is now. So that actually was not a job. That was, so there's a long connection, and I'll tell the first part of the story, but I was talking about how I was in freshman year and we were doing the audio video projects. And one of the projects we had is we had to research a country. We had to go in front of a green screen, do research on it about like the tourist attractions and, what there is to do, sites there are to see and stuff like that. And we had to stand in front of a green screen, present it like it was a newscast. And then we had to find footage, put on the green screen and present that. And that was our project. I'm still a huge fan of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Oh yeah.
And so I was watching all 5 hours of behind the scenes footage of when I think the very first Hobbit came out and some of the Lord of the Rings. And I was like, where was this all shot? Oh, wow, this was shot in New Zealand. And I decided to do, my country was New Zealand. So I literally did a full project, research New Zealand. And one thing that my family has is we had a thing. It's over now because me and my sister have been past those ages now. But I think it was when we were 13, 15, and 17. With 13 we got a trip with mom, 15 we got a trip with grandma, and 17 we got a trip with our dad separately. And so I was past 15. Maybe this was sophomore year. I think it was sophomore year. And I was like, hey, and my grandma had been there before. I was like, do you want to go to New Zealand? And she was like, yeah, I'd love to. So very fortunate to go there. But basically, this was, I don't know what made me do it, but I brought my camera and I was like, I'm going to film kind of our day. I wasn't into vlogging at the time. I'm trying to kind of get into vlogging now, kind of suck at it. I'd much rather be, behind the camera than in front.
Right.
But I believe that, some people I feel like the things that I'm doing are cooler than me doing them. So I like when I was filming all over New Zealand, as much as I'm in a lot of those shots, it was kind of like hey, this is what I'm doing. And this was back when Instagram was 15 seconds.
Right.
And so I made a 15-second video for every single day. And it was a pain in the butt trying to get Wi-Fi. I'll download the videos and do all that. But
it's really hard to get Wi-Fi in Middle Earth.
It's so hard in Middle Earth. But it is, you've told me this, it's really unfair. It's kind of hard to get a bad shot when you're in one of the most beautiful countries in the world.
Because I have a T3i too, and I've like see what I've shot of the T3i, see what you shot, and I'm just like, what kind of black magic is this?
And so people, like, I made one video and I thought that was gonna be it, and then literally my Instagram like blew up, or I had like 15 comments of people saying like, this is really good, this is awesome, wow, I want to go there. Like random people that didn't even follow me were commenting on there. So I was like, okay, wow, well maybe I should make another one. And so I ended up making one for every single day. And after that I decided to make a video of the entire trip when I got back. And I made that in the audio video class. I forgot how long that took me, but when that, to this day, when I posted that, not very instantly, but over time, has become, I think, my second most viewed video ever. And you, as a content creator, that, when you create something a long time ago, you could look back at it in a year and be like, what the heck was that? Like, that looks horrible, And so I think that I've told people that I've done that with so many projects. I've done that with the weddings I was talking about and everything like that. That New Zealand video is one of the only projects I've made that I can look back at and be somewhat proud of.
And you deserve to be, man. That thing is fantastic.
So, it really, I think, I literally had that song in my head before we left for New Zealand. So every single shot that I had that song in mind. I love timing action and or shots to beat changes, so, and that's kind of a really easy thing to do, but if you do it right, it can come out really cool.
Because some people just do it where they just like change when the bass hits.
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
doesn't work.
And you got to look for those background sounds that people aren't listening for, but as soon as a beat or a clip changes on that beat, then suddenly they notice it, and it just adds a little bit more of a dynamic to a video, I think. And so what ended up happening was every shot I had, just had that song in mind. And then as soon as I got back, I instantly started like editing it. Like I said, I'm a very visual person. So I almost had kind of what I really wanted laid out in my head. And sometimes it could be a blessing and a curse, because it's like when I start, I don't want to stop. And then I'm done fast and I'm like, sick, I'm done. And I'm very bad about going back and looking. And like, I remember I was looking back through the footage the other day, and I had some shots that were great that could have easily gone in, that had the same subjects as other shots that I actually put in the video. So I actually, one thing I want to do in the future is remake that same song, use different shots and or the same shots. But color grade it, put a frame on it, just make it look cooler, just kind of as a comparison from how far I've come. But
just to look at where you're editing.
Exactly. And so that project led, so that kind of blew up. I think for me, it's not a lot, and hopefully one day I'll laugh at this number, but I think it has 1,200 views on Vimeo. And so,
and not on YouTube. And
yeah,
Vimeo
it was on Vimeo.
Yeah.
So, I posted it on my social media. Some other people like reposted it. Thought it was super awesome. And then when we were in New Zealand, we went through a travel company, and they had a website, and they asked if they could post it. And I remember I kind of got ripped off because I was like, yeah, but I want to kind of get compensated. This is where, I guess this wasn't really my first job but I was trying to get paid for it.
Right.
And I think they gave me like $25.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was trying to be nice, like, hey, if I could get compensated, I'd love to. And they're like, oh yeah. And then they gave me like $25. I don't think they knew anything.
Were they New Zealand dollars? Because that's like what, $2 here?
It's still not that much. So yeah, that kind of made me mad, but not really, because that wasn't really why I was doing it.
Right.
I find that the best projects I have are the ones that aren't for jobs, the ones that I want to create. And that was, I think, what really fueled that video was there were no deadlines.
Yeah.
It wasn't for a job. It was something that I wanted to create, and I could have all my creative decisions just go through me. They didn't have to go through a filter, a producer, a director, or anything like that. And so I think that's why I think I like doing Run and Gun too, because it's kind of selfish, but I like to make my own stuff. I like my projects to be mine,
right.
And if I'm going to put my name on somebody else's project, I want that project to be the best possible thing it could be.
Yeah.
And so, and you may have a question queued up later, but I'll save a little bit of this. But basically, that project, it caught the eye of Chris Gordato. He's the head marketing director at Progenics. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sponsored by Progenics as an athlete, but some people know this and some people don't. When I was in California with Barbells for Boobs, I'm a youth advocate for them. They're a nonprofit breast cancer organization for men and women under 40. And we had a advocate camp where basically everybody that's an advocate for them, we were all flown into California and kind of given a education on, where the money was going, how it was helping people, how many people it helped, the research on like breast cancer, and just kind of keeping us up to date on, what the heck we're promoting. And so we're in the area, and this was in Costa Mesa, California. Progenics the marketing team works out of Costa Mesa, California as well. We're at the gym. Their offices are in the back of CrossFit Costa Mesa. I was working out, and Chris called me in. I'd known Chris because he came out actually here to Belton. Mm-hmm. He used to work for Barbells for Boobs, and he used to work for Ruka too, actually. Okay. And so he's a great guy, really good. He's a graphic designer. And so like all the shirts, like the shirt I'm wearing right now, obviously you can't see it, it's a podcast, but he designs everything. He's a super cool dude. And so I came in and we were talking about the video, like he loved the video.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about the video. And then he told me about a trip that Blair Morrison, he's a CrossFitter. This leads into a really long story, but I'll cut it soon. But basically, he has these anywhere fit trips. They're basically adventure travel fitness trips. Mm-hmm. And he goes one place once a year. It takes about 30 people. And he'd been looking for some media. And it was so funny because when I posted one of the videos in New Zealand, and I still have it, I still have the picture, and I think I'll forever keep it. One day I'll have to frame it, where Chris commented on a video that I made, 15 seconds. I think it was on Fox Glacier. And they'd been to New Zealand before on one of their Anywhere Fit trips. So this is someplace they'd been, and he had been, and he tagged him, and he was like, hey, take little buddy on the next trip, ? And Blair commented back and was like, oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, just he's being kind. Blair's sponsored by Progenics, so like they're just kind of having some friendly conversation, showing him my work. And then it went into, when I went into his office, we were talking about the video. He was like, hey, we love you, we love your work. He'd seen me grow as an athlete from the time I was 13 to I think the time I was 6. It was 2 years ago, so I was 16. Yeah. And he was like, we'd love to have you go out and film Blair's next trip to Greece. And also we would love to have you on Progenics team. And for anybody that, obviously I would imagine everybody listening to this, unless, they're listening because I post it, are CrossFitters and know what Progenics is. Progenics is a supplement company and a lifestyle kind of company. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm a CrossFit junkie, where like a lot of people are fans of football, and like they know all the players and all of that. That's how I'm a fan of CrossFit. Yeah. So Progenics is a huge brand within CrossFit. And so for me to be able to be sponsored by them, like, was literally like nothing I would ever think of in my wildest dreams. Right. And so for them to ask me to film something for them and then ask for me to be sponsored by them. Right. My mom was in the room with me, and he was like, do you need to talk with your mom? I was like, heck no. Like, so this was literally a dream come true. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful for that moment. And so, when that happened, that kind of skyrocketed, I would say, most of my newer stuff. Mm-hmm. But it literally, that deal to do the video came before the sponsorship. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people thought I got sponsored, and then over time, that came to be. Yeah. But really, it's crazy to think that the film stuff became before the athletic stuff. Yeah. So,
and that's an interesting point, that people break into this industry in ways that they don't expect. Mm-hmm. And that's really interesting that you like, CrossFit's your whole life, mm-hmm. but it came after the film
exactly
stuff.
Yeah.
Really started.
Yeah, granted, it came after, as in like 2 minutes after, but
hey, but after
was exactly yeah. So it was really cool and just very surreal to me, at the time, and even now. So,
and we're gonna post links. I'm gonna have in the description of this podcast. We'll have links to Progenics, to your YouTube, your Vimeo, all the stuff we can, so that people can find you. And we'll go over that verbally later. But let's talk a little bit about when you're on location. Whether you're in New Zealand or Greece or in a gym or wherever. Yeah. How do you find those shots? What do you look for? Do you just kind of go with how you feel about when you place a camera somewhere, or how do you find those shots when you're on location? Because, like I said, you find stuff that just blows my mind, and I'm interested about how what your process is. Like, mm-hmm. I'm using finger quotes, process, but what's your process?
Yeah. And it's funny because I might let you down, but it is very much a freestyle process. A lot of this stuff, and I'm kind of getting away from it now, but I very much use handheld, and I try and put in as much. I like slow. I'm a big slow motion person. If you look at a lot of my new stuff now that I can do slow-mo, mm-hmm. I slow-mo probably too much maybe sometimes, but I like very, slow movements, or just, I don't know. I like action, but sometimes subtle action. Yeah. So for me, when I'm finding a shot, when, everybody's working out and everybody's, dying and sweating, it's like, who do I pick to film? The biggest thing I look for, the first is if somebody's doing something extraordinary or like outside of the box. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's, grinding it out, I'm about to finish the workout, you want to get that. But you can't you got to take it a little bit past that. If there's somebody, got the pain face on doing thrusters and, they're about to finish their workout, a lot of people would just gravitate towards that. But I'm like, okay, where's his or her judge? Where's the clock? Where's, chalk? Where, I'm looking for little things that are going to add and kind of tell a little bit of a story within a shot, versus based off just your regular, I guess, content that everybody will get. So, it's kind of cliche, but I look for stuff that people aren't looking for. Mm-hmm. And I think because most of the stuff I film is within the fitness realm or weightlifting realm, and because I'm a part of that world, I can try and find shots that means something more to a CrossFitter / weightlifter than maybe the everyday person, but it's still going to be appealing to the everyday person's eye. Yeah. So whenever I'm finding, shots, it's really finding something that's kind of out of the ordinary, extraordinary, or anything like that. And then it's basically trying to find different angles. Like I said, I've said it multiple times, I'm a very visual person. And I very much create, if you look at the content that I like to watch, not all of it, but the more creative stuff, it very emulates within my own work. When I see something, I'm like, wow, I want to copy that, you know, and put it in my own work. Like, that looks cool. I want it to look cool on my stuff, you know? So, definitely within, you know, the fitness stuff, like, I'm going to get my basic shots, but once I've gotten my basic shots, like I've done this multiple times on shoots where I'll get multiple of the same shots with the same movement or whatever within multiple different people. But I'm like, okay, if I use all these, they're all the same. So I literally will like stop, turn off my camera and sit and look around and basically like, what have I not gotten? You know, and I think a lot of it comes through within the editing process, because I've had footage that I've given to people that they edit it completely different way than I have. You know, where for me, especially if I can like slow a clip down, when somebody's going to like, you know, move and then turn their camera off before they end the clip, I will slow that down and get that movement, you know, because it's usable. It might be usable for 3 seconds, but it's more than you have in a normal shot. So I think the shots I get are, I would say, maybe a little bit above average, but because I was the one that shoot it, I know, I guess, in my mind, how it'll best fit into a video. And so,
because you're telling the story from the start to the finish.
Exactly. And so I know like when I got this and when I got that and how they might complement each other, like we talked about, you know, like beat changes and stuff like that. But basically, I guess for me, and this probably rings true to everybody, is like, I know how to best dissect the footage that I film. And another step above that is dissecting, you know, footage from other people. Like I said, like I've edited videos where people had footage that they would never think to use that part of the shot that I would use. And basically, it's just kind of making a full product that's very clean, very professional looking for me. And I think that's a big thing that separated me from my high school peers. And if you ask them, they'll want to slap me in the face for it. But like, I'll literally it's kind of mean, but like, I'll watch a shot and be like, that shot's shaky, like pricking with them. But then I like, people tell the truth when they're telling jokes, you know? So like, I'm pricking with them saying like, that shot's shaky, but it actually is for me. Like, obviously, if you look at my work, like, I'm going to have stuff that's shaky. But now, if I can avoid it, I don't want any shaky shots. Because for me, that's the make it or break it point that makes my video look professional versus somebody's video that doesn't. You know, knowing when to cut, you know, when your movement's done, you know, knowing when to cut, having still shots. And those two things alone can, you know, make your product look professional, even if it's not. You know, it can make it look a little bit better than if you're hand holding, you know, a shot, and then somebody goes to pick up a barbell, and then you get them picking up the barbell, doing, you know, 2 or 3 reps, and then setting it down. You know, cut it before they pick it up. You know, they're doing their first, second reps. Then you cut it. That's all you need. You don't need. They know that they had to pick up a barbell and had to set it down. That's implied. You're just there to get that movement and to really get that core piece of whatever footage you're trying to film. So,
and I had the privilege of watching some of the stuff from your trip to Greece as you edited it. That is a hard word to say. We were talking about that last night. Like, anytime you say edited, it's like,
sounds wrong.
What did I say? But your use of slow motion, you know, you say you probably use it too much, but I do like that the way you frame your shots, the things that you get in the frame, you're slowing it down, and it kind of gives the viewer a moment to, you know, absorb what's happening and all the different pieces. Like, you know, someone's working out, great, they're working hard, but they use this chalk to, you know, make sure that their grip is good and all that stuff. So, you know, there's a lot more. I mean, that may be the wrong use of chalk. Maybe they use it to write things on their face. I don't know. But I really need to go to the gym. Dadgummit. But no, I think your use of these things, you really do tell a story with it, and that's what I think is striking about your work and does set you apart, is that there's even when you're handheld, you're not shaky. When you slow those things down, there are these little tiny moments at the ends of clips sometimes that let you see the reality of the situation. And there is a story in almost every shot, and I love that. So yeah, I'm just fanboying over here real hard.
Yeah, but I think like a big part of it too, especially when it comes to environment, is and you know this, and there's been studies on it, where if you put in a shot of somebody and their face is in it, everybody's eyes are going to gravitate towards the face. Yeah, and so
we're drawn to look at people.
Exactly, yeah. And so I try and use that to my advantage a lot of the time, because if I put a shot where somebody's face in it, I know you're going to look there, and then you're going to look at everything else. So if I put something in slow-mo, it's so you look at their face, and then you're like, okay, that's their face. But then it's like, oh, what's everything around? Then you start looking around. But when it comes to shots that just have environment, then that's when you need a focal point. That's where you got to, zoom it in a little bit more. If I shoot something that's super wide, you're not going to know what to look at. Our eyes are just going to be circling the screen, not knowing where to look at. But something as simple as just zooming in on your subject, which seems like, well, duh, everybody should do that, but not everybody does. If I want you to look at a barbell dropping, it's like, I want you to look at it dropping, but also signifies that the workout's done, or they're finished, or it was hard, or, different things, but really, zooming in, whether it be like on the weights or, the bounce or whatever. Something as simple as that kind of goes a long way. And, we're talking about this really in depth within shots, but when people are watching this, they don't think about it. And a shot like this is only on the screen for 5 seconds or less.
Right.
But regardless if people aren't thinking about it or not, it's processing in their brain, whether they know it or not. And so all they know is it just looks visually appealing, And so that's, I guess, kind of my thing, is when I finish a product, I'm like, would I enjoy watching this, And that's a lot of the times how I know whether to be done or not.
And that's for you beginning filmmakers out there, that is a fantastic piece of advice. Your job is to draw the eye to certain things, to what you want people to see. And your grasp on this, Phoenix, is just fantastic. And that's one of those things that I think a lot of people do. Like we see student films all the time, and there's a lot of like shots where there's two people talking, it's an over the shoulder, and it's wide enough that we see the entirety of one person, the back of their head, and most of the other person sitting next to them, and then there's like 40 feet of hallway behind them for no reason.
Exactly.
And we get it's an over the shoulder if we just see a glimpse of their shoulder. Like you zoom in, you draw the eye. If you want people to notice a pocket watch, get a cut into the pocket watch and like just get in there and let us see the detail on
exactly.
it. And I think that's one of those things that that I wish I had known when I first started. I started with an iPod Touch. Yeah. I made like 15, 20 videos. I shot, edited everything on that iPod. And if I had just moved closer a lot of the time, it would have been a lot better.
Exactly. And I'm a huge believer again in like you learn the best from making mistakes, and that's not always fun, but it's true. When I was in Greece, I interviewed all 30 people that were on the trip. Yeah. And I had to interview them. It was the very last night. I was interviewing from 9 at night till 1 in the morning. Wow. Because we had so many people, and I was interviewing them about the entire trip. So I couldn't exactly interview them halfway through the trip and be like, how's your trip been? So, right. I started a little bit earlier with the Alaska trip, and that helped significantly, but ironically I didn't use any of the interviews in the actual movies. But anyway, what happened was we were indoors, and this was like, it's so funny because I'm shooting I'm getting hired to shoot, but I really hadn't grasped the concept of ISO. So we were indoors. It was so warm. It literally looks like somebody peed on my screen. And the ISO, for anybody that doesn't know what ISO is basically the dummy's way to describe it is it basically makes your shot brighter or darker.
Yeah, it controls the sensitivity.
And sometimes artificially, if there's no light there, it'll create its own light. And so if you do that and you create light where there's not, it creates grain. And what grain is basically the really fuzziness on your screen. And if you don't know what that is, that's probably a good thing, because nobody's going to put
student film shot in the dark and you'll know.
Exactly. And the reason a lot of people don't know what grain is because they're watching professional stuff, and that grain is non-existent unless you want there to be for some reason. And so basically I messed up my ISO, so every single interview from start to finish was grainy. Yeah. But because I did that and because I couldn't fix it, I had to use those interviews. I had to use the footage. And sometimes you can avoid to use crappy footage, but other times you can't. You have to do it to tell your story. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of that hierarchy of, if you have to use it to tell your story, then that takes first priority. Yeah. So I had to put them in there. But now to this day, I will never mess up an ISO during an interview because I did it 30 times. Yeah. And I know what it looks like, and it's not appealing. And I was pissed every time I watched the video. Yeah. So, so that's something that, that's little, but, it's going to last a very long time. Right.
And sometimes what's interesting is you learn from those mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes are the best thing you can do.
Exactly.
I remember when we shot Final Moments, there was a scene where I ran out of a laundry room into a hall, and there was a carpet on the ground, and I ran out and thought, I'll just come around this corner and it'll be fine, but I slipped on the carpet and ended up face planting.
I remember that.
And it just kind of, it seemed to add that extra bit of like franticness to that moment because he's about to get nuked. Yeah, and we ended up we shot that 5 or 6 more times. I had a headache by the end of that because I kept hitting my head. Yeah. But yeah, mistakes are not the end. And anyone who's just starting out, you're going to make mistakes.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to make so many mistakes that you will take down all of your old YouTube videos. I know I did. But those are opportunities to learn. And Winston Churchill said that a pessimist sees the difficulty in opportunities. A optimist sees the opportunities in difficulties. And those difficulties are sometimes your own mistakes. It's not always just, this is going to be hard to do. It's, I screwed up. Yeah. But see the opportunity to learn from that, to find a way. If your ISO is messed up and it looks grainy, go and look online for a way to take some grain out.
Exactly, yeah.
If you slip and fall, see if that works for your moment. If you're on a date and you slip and fall, pretend it didn't happen maybe. I don't know. That hasn't happened to me, but I did walk into a pool once. We did not stay together. So tell us about this newest project, just in short. This is from your Alaska trip?
Yes.
And so tell us kind of, it's going to be released by the time that this is out. Yeah. So people can find it on YouTube. What is kind of the basic premise of this project, and how long is it? Because I understand that it's got quite a bit of length to it.
Exactly. So I guess I'll kind of continue where I left off with when I was told I was going to do the Greece trip. So as I mentioned, Blair Morrison, he runs these trips. Again, I was a huge fan of him. He's a CrossFit Games athlete, and CrossFit Games athletes are legit. He competed in 2009, 10, and 11. And really great guy, super fit, but he loves traveling and he loves fitness. So basically he found a way to combine those. We can throw up a link. There's a whole video I made for him, describing, how he came about. But basically he loves traveling and he loves doing fitness. So when he came back to America after going to college in Europe, he wanted to continue doing what he was doing, which basically like working out outside, using the environment. And so when he came back to the States, he was like, how can I find a way to continue doing this and, not live in my car? So, right. He started the Anywhere Fit trips. And I believe this Alaska one was 9 and Greece was 8. Mm-hmm. And so basically my dad actually came with me. We talked about us having trips. That was his 17 trip. And Progenics actually, they paid for me to go out, and they actually paid for some to help my dad go out with me as well. And I think a lot of that too was also I was a minor, and at the time, I think I was 16 at the time. So,
coal or diamonds? I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke.
But basically, we headed out. We went to Greece, 12-hour flight. And my job was to document all 10 days of Greece. So we started off in Athens, and we went to Delphi, and then we went across the islands. We went to Crete and Mykonos and Santorini, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life.
Again, cheating because all of your shots look fantastic.
So the goal was to basically kind of make a documentary over the 10 days. And so I edit, and the same thing for the Alaska, I edit it as if it's a movie. Mm-hmm. So I edit everything at once, and then we're talking it over. And this took me last year I think I finished in June.
Mm-hmm.
Not June. Yeah, maybe June. I forget. It was late. It was farther than, I think it might have been the end of May. But basically, made the documentary. We broke it up into episodes. We broke it up into 4 episodes. And then we released them and took them out, and a lot of people liked them. You know, they didn't get a crazy amount of views, but it's mostly for the people that were on the trip, for them to kind of relive it. But then if anybody else wants to watch it as just an entertainment standpoint, and possibly they watch it and then they want to go on a trip, then it's kind of a marketing tool for that. So that Greece trip happened. That was in the summer. Oh my goodness. It wasn't this last summer.
2015?
I think it was 2015. Yeah. I'm really bad with dates. But so I think it was 2015, maybe 2016. No, it's 2015. And so basically Blair really enjoyed the videos, so much to the point where I actually went out to California this last summer and lived with him. I finished school. I finished my junior year. We finished on June 1st. And on June 3rd, I was on a plane with a big suitcase to go live in California for 2 months. And basically my job doing for him was I was coaching at his gym. I was coaching CrossFit and weightlifting at his gym. And along with that, I was creating content for his gym and for his podcast. He has a podcast. Shout out to Beyond the Barbell. They're pretty much a fitness / CrossFit weightlifting podcast.
Definitely go check them out if you don't want to look like me.
But they are sponsored by Reebok, and we did a bunch. I think 20, 23 podcasts over the summer, from people from professional CrossFit Games athlete to the head CrossFit Games director, Dave Castro. And so that was a really cool opportunity. But part of that deal was basically doing the next trip was Alaska. They've gone all over the world. They've done New Zealand. They've done Iceland like 3 times, because one of the guy who co-runs the trips is from Iceland. He's Icelandic. His name's Finn. He's an amazing guy. I love him to death. And so basically they go all over the world and they do these trips, 10 days, averaging, or this time it was 33 people when we went to Alaska. So at the end of the summer, it was from August 5th to August 15th, I believe. We did the trip, or my mom actually came out because basically I hadn't seen her most of the summer. They came out to visit me one time. And then my dad had gone on the last trip, so he was like, hey, you should go on this trip. And that way we could kind of have that bond, because you really do get close with the people on these trips. Yeah. And so, from August 5th, we went out to Alaska with 30 people. And the coolest thing was there was a lot of repeat people that were on the Greece trip as well. So I got to see them. I think 3 people from our gym went, including my mom. And then a lot of new people. We had people from Israel. We had people from Iceland. We had people from Italy. We had people from France, and then from people all over the States. Wow. So you really are getting a global crowd, putting them in a bus, a charter bus, busing us, flying us, kayaking, whitewater rafting, working out on the side of a glacier, doing all these crazy adventurous things for 10 days. Wow. And it literally feels so long, but everybody really becomes like such a tight-knit family. And you get to talk with all these people where everybody's job goes away. We have police officers and bankers and, software, tech people, and just everybody's job stripped. Everybody is part of this group. And you really all just become this one big family. So basically my job was, again, to capture those 10 days and make a documentary. So the Greece videos ended up being, I think, about an hour worth of content, which I thought was crazy at the time. Yeah. These Alaska videos we're breaking up into 4 episodes. And I think the total runtime is 2 hours and 18 minutes. Wow. So I've been working on this since the day I got back to school until this last Friday. Yeah. And it really, honestly, if I wasn't going to school or if I had more time, it wouldn't take as long. But all the stuff is on my school's computer. My computer barely, I was editing an Instagram video every day for the Alaska trip. And basically what happened was I almost ran out of storage On the very last day, I tried to import my footage. It said my computer was too full, so I just kept it on that card. Got back to Texas, went to school very first day, uploaded all the footage, and started going to town. And basically, I have 2 hours.
That terrifies me, man. Not having everything like in a second place.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awful.
So I put it on. I put on a hard drive, and then I put it on the computer. So I kind of still have the rough version without any of the long projects on it, just the Instagram projects that are still on that hard drive. So basically, I have 2 hours a day, essentially, because I have 2 class periods of audio video to edit. And for, content creators and people that edit, 2 hours in kind of seems like a lot of time, and it is. But when you start rolling and you start going, it is literally away. Minutes. Yeah. And so I would get in the groove, and as soon as I got in the groove, I'd maybe have 30 to 20 minutes left. Yeah. And so it really kind of puts a damper on the time that I can complete these. And because I can't have it on my laptop at home and like edit on the weekends and stuff, granted, I'm busy a lot of the weekends too, but even if I wasn't, it's still, I can't, the computers doesn't have it as much as a processor and or enough storage. Right. I've almost filled up the computer storage on that computer, and I think it has a terabyte. The project?
It was almost a terabyte.
It was almost a terabyte, full of stuff. I think I have like 1,123 clips in there. Good Lord. So like it's a ton of footage because I'm basically trying to capture the essence of these trips, which is a cool adventure travel / community building, atmosphere. And so so those videos will be coming out this Monday, the 27th. Tonight, actually, within a couple hours, I'm really excited. The 3 people plus my mom and my dad, because obviously they live in my house, or I live in their house.
I was about to say, they live in your house. Yeah, wow.
But I have them up on YouTube. They're unlisted, so they're loaded, but nobody can see them unless they have the links right now. Right. And we're all going to sit down and watch them tonight, along with some of my friends that are going to come over. Yeah. And just so they can kind of relive it. And I've watched them. It's 2 hours and 18 minutes worth of content, but I've probably watched it 4 or 5 times all the way through. And so
any 2-hour project is like 500 hours in that.
Exactly.
Size.
So, I'm just more excited getting to see their reactions, to see, and I think it definitely going to mean, I told my dad there's like a pyramid where at the top it's going to mean the most of the people that were on the trip, all 30 of them, which is not that many, but then it's going to mean more to people that have been on previous trips.
Right.
And then it's going to mean more to people that do CrossFit or like to travel. Yeah. And then it's your basic everyday person. Yeah. So it's this pyramid. And when I'm editing the video, obviously there's some inside jokes in there, but I try to not put all the inside jokes. Right. Or if there is, I try to explain it. Yeah. Or
isn't there like a unicorn or a kitten t-shirt or something?
Yeah. And so like there's stuff like that in there, but then it's like, I'm creating 2 hours and 18 minutes worth of content that I want the average everyday person that's just scrolling through YouTube to be able to click and watch. Yeah. So when I approach this huge project, I have to approach it like that. And the way this one is formatted was really good. I said that I interviewed 33 people. And I was smarter, and I interviewed 2 at a time this time. So it went by a lot faster, but it still took forever. I used maybe a minute of one person's interview where he was talking about how he got lost on one of our trail runs, and that was it. And the reason I did that was because I asked everybody like what their favorite moment is, what their favorite moment was, what their favorite workout was, what they love about the trips, and like if they could explain the trips in one word, what would it be? And I got some great answers. But we were at our very last dinner, and like where everybody was going to be together. Some people were going to stay an extra day. Other people were leaving that night. Other people were leaving early in the morning. Like that's where everybody kind of breaks off. Yeah. And so we had a dinner where all 33 of us are sitting in this restaurant, and we're like sharing 3 separate tables, and everybody's talking. And then Blair kind of addresses everybody. He's like, he had such a great time and blah, 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 and all this. And then he's like, what I'd like is everybody to go around and share their favorite moment. And everybody shared their favorite moment. I'm not going to lie. At the very end, there were some really like emotional stories. And if you watch the entire video, a lot of the emotional ones are towards the end. I try and keep it like a fun, playful, but then towards the end, like really get like a lot of the people are extremely affected by these trips. And I won't ruin it. You have to watch it to go see it. But there's extremely emotional stuff to the point to like when I finished, I got choked up and started crying.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so there was just this raw energy about that dinner. And everybody shared their favorite moment. And I was literally, as soon as it ended, in my mind, again, I'm just already creating the video. So I was like, I'm going to take, because I filmed everybody's during their response. I was like, I'm going to take everybody's response. And every time they talk about their favorite moment, I'm going to cut it into the regular documentary instead of an interview.
Yeah.
And every time they talk about their favorite moment, I'm going to play it and fade it as if it starts at it. So the video starts at the dinner. It starts at the dinner with Blair addressing everybody, and there's some clips kind of montaging like some of the stuff he's talking about, and then it cuts into the very first day. And then as soon as one of the people, it's all out of order within the people that they went, but every time they talk about their favorite moment, it cuts into the documentary, fades to black, fades to them explaining what they liked about it, and there's some clips over them, you know, about this stuff, and then it fades back and it continues. So it's just like almost like this entire 2 hour and 18-minute documentary is about a memory. And they're sitting at a dinner almost like they're recalling the entire trip, but we're actually watching the trip as it goes by. And this was something that literally I didn't think about. It literally just came to me. Like, and it was just like, I have hours worth of interview content that I could have used, but I was like, for the sake of the story, and you know this because I do run and gun stuff. So a lot of the times, you know, I try and tell a story, but without words, without dialogue. I hate dialogue for some reason. Like, that's why I don't like doing tell. Exactly. It's like, you know, just, you know, because at this day and age, we don't have like professional actors to help us and do stuff like that. So it's like, for me, when I'm creating my own content, that's why I like montages, because I don't have to use words, but just like taking all these words and basically making a story out of it. I was like, I can create a much more emotional, raw, powerful story if I use people's raw, emotional, powerful stories that they gave me and literally throw it in and make this kind of, I don't know, I'm sure it's been done before, but for me, it was just like, you know, last year I made, you know, documentary interview, and I was going to do that again this year. But then as soon as we did that dinner, I was like, wow, like this was really something special. And I want that to be captured within the essence of the trip. So that was just kind of how that, like, I had that idea. I had all 2 hours and 18 minutes in my head before I sat down at the computer, which is crazy to think about. But
that's, again, going back to, you know, kind of having control when you're shooting and when you're editing. That's, you have the opportunity to tell the story that you saw. And that's one of the things that I you know, I'm not a documentary filmmaker. I'm very much like, I love writing, so I go and I write the scripts and I do all that stuff. And but I love to see people who can go out and be in that moment and then hold on to that moment in the edit bay. That's something that's really cool. I'm really excited to watch these things. I'm geeking out, but we're gonna have links to all of this stuff down in the description of the podcast. I'm going to put this up on YouTube as well so people can find it on YouTube and try to, you know, make sure people see your stuff because I love it. Let's go through just a couple of real quick questions. And by a couple, I mean, I know there's like 10 on here, so we'll try and keep these short. What filmmakers inspire you the most?
It's kind of ironic because when I watch movies and stuff, like, I'm a huge fan of like Quentin Tarantino and just kind of, I don't know, when I watch movies, I try and like the movie, and I never been like a huge, like, oh, I like this director, I like that director. But I think I look at it more like as in the art, the movies itself. But when it comes to like content creators, obviously, like, because I'm CrossFit Media Team has a lot of cool people and they make a lot of great content. So there's a guy named Stefan Mazniak, or I forget his last name, but he's done a lot of stuff outside of CrossFit and within CrossFit, and I like his kind of raw, very much style. Most of the people on the CrossFit Media Team, I just like the content they create. But like, there's, I don't know, I wouldn't say like I like Casey Neistat style, you know, obviously, you know, cinematically, but then I'm just a huge fan of like good work. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of just any one person in particular.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Okay. what in everyday life inspires you? Like, what's the thing that you look at and go, I need to shoot this and tell this story?
Yeah. For me, and this is something that I hope that one day, like, I'm trying to right now really expand myself as a brand. So I'd love to like make t-shirts. I have like logos, and I feel like I can make some really cool stuff. And it was funny because like every time I say something or every time anybody says something like cool, I'm like, that should be on a t-shirt. Yeah. And I hope that one day that I can make that a reality, where like somebody says something, I'm like, I'm gonna make that a t-shirt. So I was thinking about this a lot actually lately, where I try and take stuff that's ordinary and make it extraordinary. Where I feel like literally if somebody was like, hey, film me doing my homework, that I can make a boss video with some hype music and make somebody doing their homework look interesting. Now,
even if it's not in New Zealand.
Exactly. So it's like, for me, it's trying to, we talked about, a lot of the times, I believe the greatest stuff is the very raw emotional stuff that, you're there to capture, and then you're able to make something out of it. But I would say 90% of all media work is taking something ordinary and making it extraordinary, making something that otherwise would be normal, and, changing it and shaping it and adding music and adding all these, bells and whistles to make it so much cooler, not necessarily better, but just cooler than it actually was in real life, right. So
you kind of get inspired by the possibilities of
the possibilities of normal things, that I look at, random things, and like that would be really cool in a video, and
well, maybe if you offered to film me doing dishes, I would actually get them done.
Just a little motivation,
just a little bit. There's a very tall stack in my kitchen. Studio. No, the opposite way. If you listen to the rest of the podcast, I'm always like, well, here I'm in the studio. It's a fun time here on Roll Sound. Your plans in the very near future are you're moving, correct?
Yes, I plan on moving out after I graduate to Southern California. But kind of it's funny because it's like people are like, oh, I'm going to move out to Hollywood. Like, I'm trying to move out to California specifically because I have connections with these brands like Progenics and Barbells for Boobs and some other brands that are out there in the Southern California area. So basically, I'm kind of without really kind of a safety net, just trying to go out there and see what I can do, see if I'm able to work with these brands and not necessarily make a huge living, but make a living.
Yeah, survive.
Exactly, survive. And luckily, my parents are super supportive, and they're helping me out, money wise and stuff like that. But they from day one, literally like from when I was born, their goal was like I was going to go to college. And as they've seen me, I think, grow, within this film kind of realm and see what I've been able to do within high school, when it came down to like, I've literally not sent a college admissions essay form, anything. I took the SAT once. And like, that's just, and like I said, like I have straight A's. So it's not like a mental capability. I feel like I've always told people I have the grades I do just because I work hard at it. Right. And not like work hard like, oh, I want to do my homework. Like, this is due. This is what you gave me. I'm going to do it. Right. Because, and so, but, it's so weird that, as time went by, them asking like, hey, would you want to, go out and learn from people and almost have that be your education. And that's really what I'm trying to do. Is there's a lot of people out there that I feel like I can learn from, and then a lot of people out there that I feel like I can make content for. Yeah. So basically trying to do that. I kind of have a job offer at the table at a CrossFit down in San Diego. That's kind of been going on for a while. So that's something I want to do, obviously in the future. But right now I'm trying to learn as much as I can. That way, when I do take that job or any other job in the future, I'm more well prepared than I am just right now, straight out of high school. Yeah. So
yeah, cool. What if you had to pick a part of filmmaking? Let's say it's the shooting or the editing or the sound design or lighting or whatever. What very very quickly? What's your favorite part and what's your least favorite part?
As I mentioned, I hate audio earlier, so I hate, miking people up or having to worry about that. If I could forever hire somebody to do that for me, I would do that. So I would say I hate the audio part, and I feel like it's still like a give or take whether I love filming but I love being able to make that film into something I want. So again, filming and editing. If I had to choose, I think I might say editing right now, just because again, I can make that shot that already looks good into something that looks even cooler. So
and that's that final storytelling part. Like you really get to decide what it's about. What profession would you like to attempt other than the stuff that you specialize in now? Like if all this went away, cameras poofed out of existence, barbells were no longer a thing.
Oh gosh.
I know that's like the worst horror movie for you, but what else would you like to pursue? What would you say, I think I would like to go try to succeed at that?
And see, I think that's a really weird question for me, and I think I'd be screwed like if I ever like broke my leg or something. Not so much from the athletic side, but just in general where, I don't know, weightlifting and CrossFit is something I've done forever. So like I thought you were going to say like if film went away, what'd you do? And my first answer is going to be coach. And that's still something I want to do in the future.
Right.
And I already have done a lot in high school. So honestly, I don't even think I can answer that question, not because I don't want to, but because I don't know.
Yeah.
I literally CrossFit and weightlifting and filming is my life right now, along with school. But like if you took those things away, I mean, obviously I wouldn't, be crazy or not do anything. I'd find something to do, but those are both two things that I'm extremely passionate about, and I would say most of my waking energy and even rest, like I literally have changed the way I sleep to have better mobility, to weightlift better. Like it literally comes down to the food I put in my body.
I changed the way I sleep for filmmaking. I don't.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But like sacrificing, some things, not necessarily always sacrifice, but changing things that are going to put you in a better position. So for me, I try and it's so funny because I'm a very realistic person. People are like, oh, if somebody told me like, hey, I'm going to move out to California, I'm going to go to Hollywood, I'm going to be a billionaire, I'd be like, haha, yeah, you're stupid. But yet here I am trying to go out to California to, work with these brands. And not necessarily that I don't have a plan B, but for me, if you're thinking about a plan B, then you've already failed at plan A.
Yeah.
You've already taken the possibility in your mind that you might fail. And so for me right now, it's like I'm going into it like things are going to work perfectly. I know they're not. I know things are going to suck and things might, be hard a lot of the time, even maybe most of the time. But for me, it's like I'm going to give everything I have, all the effort I have. Yeah. If it works out the way I think it is, great. If it works out the way I don't think it is, great. If it fails altogether, I still have a family. I still have, friends. I'm not dead. You know what I mean? Like the world's not going to end. I still have CrossFit. I still have weightlifting. If that goes away, you know what I mean? Yeah. I still have, it's not even material things. Like I still have a relationship with God and all these things that, at the end of the day, if everything's stripped away, I'm still fine. I'm still breathing. I'm still lucky enough to be alive. Yeah. So, I think if you, take those things away, I'd find something else, to do.
Right. What would you absolutely go, I'm never doing that?
I don't know. My dad maybe do a couple manual labor jobs when I was in kind of freshman, sophomore year, and I didn't really enjoy that, so I can avoid that. I will, but
I did 2 days of tiling with the construction company. Hated it so much. I'm same here. What do you hope people see in your work? Do you is it your relationship with God? Is it just the story you're telling? What is it that you hope people maybe not even recognize that they see, but can feel?
I hope that when people see my work, they see effort and passion. I hope they see something and they're like, wow. Granted, when you watch something, the first thing that goes to your mind is not, wow, that person put a lot of time and effort into that. But I want people to watch my work. I want it to be like when I watch other people's work, where I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And I want other people to watch my work with, the same view, with the same eyes, just be like, wow, that's really awesome. And, like I said, I'm trying to more brand myself. And so if I can bring people to me, and they're a fan of me, whether it be on the film side or across the side or whatever, I just hope that me as a personality, I reflect, God's values, and, it can express to people in whatever way, shape, or form, whether it just be kindness if somebody doesn't believe, whether it just be kindness or friendship or whatever, I don't care if you're different than me. I think that's what makes everybody cool, is everybody's differences. So I just find that the work can reflect multiple things, whether it be, just somebody in awe or, just they think it's cool and basically kind of have that lead to other things. Or if somebody watch a workout video, whether I be in it or anybody else is in it, they see that and they want to get off the couch and go to the gym. Or, if they see the adventure travel
stuff. You looked
stuff,
me directly in the eye when you said that. Come on, man.
But if somebody sees, the Anywhere Fit, Alaska Grease trips, they see that and they're like, wow, I want to go on one of those. Or, they saw one of the videos of the podcasts or competitions I filmed this summer. They're like, wow, that's super cool. You know what I mean? Like, not all videos are going to, lead on or entail to other stuff, but some stuff is. And I'm a huge believer in whether it be a short video, a movie, a long video, if a piece of media makes you feel something, then it's done its job.
Yeah.
No, whether it's a scary movie or, you feel, motivated at the end of it, or, you feel sad at the end of it. If a movie made you feel something, it did its job. And if it's a minute video I make on Instagram, I want people to feel something, and obviously I do a lot of montage stuff. So I just want them to think like, wow, that's really cool. But at the end of the day, if I made you feel something, I did my job.
Yeah. And that's always the, for me, the mark of a great movie is like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is one of my favorite movies of all time. Mm-hmm. And it's not super popular or anything like that, but I watched that movie and almost bought a plane ticket to Alaska the next night, and because it made me feel like I need to go, I need to do, I need to step out of my bubble. Mm-hmm. And Stranger Than Fiction, again, one of my favorite movies, just because it made me realize that, sometimes our purpose doesn't serve us. Most of the time, the most important things we do in our lives don't serve us. Mm-hmm. And it makes me feel like, I have that responsibility and that privilege to be a blessing to someone else. Yeah. And even if it's hard, it's something I'll know in that moment. I've got to do this because it's important. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely agree. Those movies that make you feel something, not Batman versus Superman. Those are really the great ones. So and that's why I love your work, is because I can always feel your intentionality when I watch it, and that's something that I think is paramount in this industry.
And it's so funny because, like I talked about, like videos making you feel something. I think that's why I'm such a huge person when it comes to music. And as I'm starting to make videos for companies and brands, like I can't just pick any song I want to. If I'm making my own stuff, great, I'm gonna use all the copyrighted music I want. Right. But if I'm making something for a brand, I want it to reflect me and my style, but finding a royalty-free song that difficult. I can use for commercial use is literally like throwing, making a 3-pointer on a truck, that's going 60 miles per hour. Yeah, exactly. Like
away from the goal.
Exactly. It's just
the
like
basket.
And eventually you find something, or you go through all the songs and then you lower your expectations and then you go back through again and you finally pick one. Yeah. But that's why I think I like creating, my own content, because I can use whatever the heck I want. But, finding music, like I'll normally, and that's what I mean. I'm more of like a hip hop, trap, EDM type person. I'm a millennial. I like that type of stuff. But it's
I'm an old man who listens to acoustic stuff.
And everybody has their own cup of tea.
Right,
and like I think there's a time and place for that. Obviously, if I'm filming, somebody's, I don't know, music video, guitar session or whatever, or like a stroll through the park, I'm not going to be like, wow, nah. You know what I mean? Like that, there's a time and a place for that. But, I would say a lot of the stuff I shoot is very upbeat. So I want the music to reflect that. But how I choose songs is, if I was listening to a song and whatever the beat hit or whatever the song was made me feel something, I'm like, well, boom. Yeah. There's an automatic tool I can put in my video that, granted, not everybody's going to be affected by it the same way I was, but
someone will.
Exactly, someone will. Yeah. So it's like, if I felt that way just during the song, and now I get to add pictures and images, and it's just going to enhance that atmosphere. So
yeah, and that's something that I do too. Is I listen to music that kind of reflects the type of films I want to write.
Exactly.
And I'll find a song, and that'll kind of just spark that that story, and then I go start writing. So
because even though I listen to that music, I love rock. I love like even things like opera. There's definitely a lot of beauty in whatever type of music it may be.
Right.
So, but like knowing when and when not to use certain types of music, I think that's a own skill on its own. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, where can people find your work? What's your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, your MySpace?
I do not have a MySpace. Recently created a Facebook that's just my name, Phoenix Phillips, along with my YouTube.
And how is that spelled, just so that everyone knows?
PHOENIX, and then Phillips with 2 L's. Okay? So yeah, a lot of people mess that up. It doesn't start with an F, okay? But so yeah, YouTube, Facebook, self-titled Phoenix Phillips. My Instagram is that guy Phoenix _. My Twitter is just that guy Phoenix. And then I don't even know what the heck my Vimeo. I think my Vimeo is self-titled as well.
Okay.
I only have a couple of that. If you want to go see my old crap work, go look at there. That and then the New Zealand video. That
Right.
New Zealand video is the shining star in that Vimeo account. But yeah, a lot of.
And we're gonna have links to all of that below in the
Exactly,
description.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out Phoenix's stuff. It is fantastic.
So the Anywhere Fit Greece and Alaska stuff. The Alaska stuff's coming out on Monday. That's all on the Anywhere Fit YouTube page. We'll post links to that. But then also, I would say I'm the most frequent on my Instagram. But then I post something on YouTube. I'll get around to eventually posting it on Twitter or Facebook, whatever. But I think I'm the most very active on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to just follow me in general, that's a good place to do it as well. So.
And see what new trips are coming up and what you're working on, how things are going in California.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Sweet. Well, that's the end of my questions, man. This has been such an interesting talk. I love talking about. I could do this all day, but you've got a release party tonight,
and not everybody's gonna listen all day. But.
Someone's falling asleep.
Exactly.
Probably when I was talking. So, well, man, I'm so excited about those new videos. Those will be out when this is out. And I'm best of luck to you and many blessings.
I appreciate
to
it.
Everything that you're working on. I know you're gonna do so much. And the biggest reason that I'm excited about what you've got coming up next is your work ethic. I think that's something that at risk of sounding like a 50-year-old man, the kids these days don't have, but you have this incredible work ethic. There's passion behind everything that you do. You don't waste your time on all this other frivolous stuff that you really don't care about. And I think that's such an important characteristic of someone who wants to do this, because there's gonna be times where it just sucks, but you have to love it, and you have to work at it. Without work, there is no success.
Exactly.
Especially in this. So I'm very excited for what you got coming up. I'm going to be following along. I really, really hope we get more opportunities to work together. I know we've talked about one or two here recently. So before you leave, I'm going to wrangle you into something somehow. But yeah, no. Everyone definitely check out Phoenix's stuff. Again, links are in the description. There is a lot of great work coming from this young man. He is definitely someone you want to be following along with. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this wild lines concept that we got going here, which if you don't know what that means, it's basically where you go and re-record dialogue for actors on set when audio was bad around. But if you like this concept, we're gonna be doing a lot more of these. We've got a ton of fun stuff lined up in the future. We've got actors, we've got directors, we've got people who like video games. I mean, we've got all types of stuff. So make sure you give us a 5-star review or any star review on iTunes. We just like to know that someone's there. Hello. Oh wait, I'm not gonna hear it now. But no, we're I gotta stop with these terrible jokes. You guys were making fun of me for it last night, and it was completely warranted. But no, just make sure you give us a review. Tell your friends. Definitely check out Phoenix's stuff before you do anything else. Though this young man is gonna do some incredible work in the future. So. Well, thanks for joining us, Phoenix.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun. We got to do this again after your next trip.
For sure.
We can talk about things in length. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Goodbye. And that's where the theme song plays.